them off in 2 lines, and as normal, they go off at a fair old clip. Dynamit, who'd won a classic on the flat in the light colours, way up front and leads over the first and on the way to the second. David Naylor Leyland, as planned, is last on the inside, just saving his energies for later on. The second is a pretty easy one, but now comes the first test, the open water. And as they turn for it, Dynamit once more is leading them. Foreman is up there, Libentina, Frase, and number 3 on the inside, Zeleznik. Here, Gavin Ragg's horse, Grand Cheval, clips the edge of the bank and pays the penalty. The runners are now faced with the 4th, the dreaded Taxis. It always claims a share of victims, and the riders spread right out across the course in order to get a good look at it. Up front again, Zeleznik, who's won it 3 times, jumps it well in the yellow colours. But there are 12 fallers at the Taxis, including the only girl rider, Rosa Sharlova. Now onto the Irish bank, and here we lose Hutarak, number 13. He interferes with Marcus Armitage, but he's on his way again. David Naylor Leyland jumps through, and Julian Smith-Osborne gets away on Badger's Mead. There's a long way to go yet. At this one, it's a fairly innocuous fence, number 7, Flover, and Frase up front, but look at Zeleznik now in the red cap and the red noseband. He's been here 3 times before, but this time he says no thank you and refuses. In behind him, Dynamit tries to jump his prostrate body and unseats his rider. The 6th fence in the race had claimed the 1st and 2nd favourites, Joseph Vanya, Mickey Hannes, out of the race early on. Back across another plough, and it's Flover who's come up to challenge Frase for the lead. But his rider asks quite a question at this big hedge. He doesn't get the answer he wanted. That leaves Frase to go on. But now into the picture comes Foreman, who is a cracking little colt. He's still an entire horse. He was placed last year and the year before. And here he is with his ears pricked, thoroughly enjoying the ride round over these big fences in the sunshine. The double coming up is the fence that claimed Chris Collins in 1973 before he went on to victory. This time, little Foreman looks at it, jumps in and jumps straight out again. At this stage, we can see the British riders starting to get closer. Back in 5th place in the blue and red colours, that's number 1, Richard Chandler on Clonroche Stream. And on his outside is Marcus Armitage riding Silhouette. They steady for another fence, which has a rail in front of a hedge, and little Foreman, who's been here before, knows his way round and is still enjoying the battle. Clonroche Stream has come up into 4th, Richard Chandler just taking a check there. He's quite near, and he hadn't planned to be so near to the front at this stage prior to the race, but things get altered once the action is on its way. Marcus Armitage, conversely, had no real plans. He was just going out to enjoy himself, and he's certainly doing that. Foreman goes on now as they go to what is amazingly called the Little Taxis, and this one jumps much better than the real thing. Up front, it's now Foreman still enjoying himself with Libo Stancil in the saddle. Libentina with Zico is right behind. Frase and Václav Holubka, Cortez and Precipice Lodge getting ever closer in those big blue blinkers. Just in behind, in 6th place, Richard Chandler's having the ride of his life. The Leicestershire farmer has taken a pull now. He knew he was nearer than he wanted to be. He'd been tutored by his mate Robert Crosby prior to this event and was aware he wasn't riding to orders. Little Foreman leads them around a very sharp turn as they head to what is probably the smallest fence on the course. But as we've seen in the past, small fences often cause troubles. Here, happily, apart from a slight mistake there for Precipice Lodge, there's no grief. They go round and yet another sharp corner and almost back on their tracks. The British runners are still going well. For us, it's looking into the sunshine. For them, happily, they're now racing away from it. As the sun was getting lower, the fences were getting rather shaded every time they faced into the sun. But there's an important part of the race coming up now with Foreman in front. We have Precipice Lodge on the far side, and here, over a downward bank, almost like a ski slope, all the horses take it well. But the field has been whittled down to just 11th. Another plough sees at the end a little stone wall, something that we used to have in the Grand National, but no longer. And Precipice Lodge pops over that beautifully. He's third and exactly where David Naylor Leyland wished to be. But there are two open waters looming up. These are the fences the British riders didn't particularly like. But look at the entire colt, Foreman. He loves it. So does Precipice Lodge, and on to Clonross Stream, Silhouette, and finally we've got Julian Smith Osborne on Badger's Mead, still in contention, and going the shortest way round. As the runners fan out, they want to get a good look at number 18, because this has caused problems in the past. Precipice Lodge jumps it well, but Clonross Stream makes a mistake, and Marcus Armitage goes straight through the spray. Grevot takes a nasty tumble here. As he gets up, he treads on his own reins and nearly on rider Václav Winklerov. The runners go on with Foreman still setting this merry pace. But now in contention, all of a sudden, we have Libentina, Frase, Foreman and the blinkered Precipice Lodge. These are the horses that are going to fill the major places. Also coming into contention, we have Yichin. Well, Yichin for a long time has been way at the back. This one's in the green colours and is just about third at the moment. Looking behind, the second rank of runners sees several Brits there, with Richard Chandler on Clonross Stream and Marcus Armitage on Silhouette. For the sixth time, they cross a plough and go into a ditch which has no takeoff line and no landing. But the leaders by now have got the hang of this tricky course. They've been whittled down from 29 to just 10 survivors, but they know if they can conserve energy from here on in, they may have a chance of honours. Up front, Precipice Lodge in the blue blinkers. David Naylor Leyland starting to go for home. Just in behind him is the gallant little Foreman starting to weaken. But the other Brits are still there. There's Marcus in the yellow hat, Julian Smith Osborne in the blue and red colours, and behind, and just starting to tire, Richard Chandler and Clonross Stream. David Naylor Leyland decides that Precipice Lodge has got stamina to stretch the checks behind him. And as he heads out for home, he's got to be sure of knowing the rest of the route. Loose horses crisscrossing, but happily keeping out of the way. From this point, it seems that the Brits are going to be in with a chance. This fence is nasty because you jump up onto a false landing. But David Naylor Leyland there gets away with it. Sadly, Yichin falls. Now the race is getting in earnest as they jump a double set of rails, something certainly they would never see in Britain. Now as they head away from the grandstands across the final plough, it's the 4-times winner, Václav Chalupka, who goes for home. He's riding a mare, and she's a super little mare called Frase, only a 7-year-old, whereas Libentina, who's in hot pursuit, is just a year older. Yet another mare. A big, bold jump there by Chalupka should, in his mind, clinch the deal. But in behind, Libentina and Zuko have got them in their sights. By now, David Naylor Leyland must be thinking he's going to have to settle for third. But sadly, his iron breaks. I'm sure that doesn't help. Now they're on to the final run. It's all grass and only 3 hurdles to jump. There shouldn't be any bother from the obstacles. It's a question of, has anyone got anything in reserve? For David Naylor Leyland, his position in the saddle shows you his off stirrup has already broken. Well, with the sun shining on the runners and just the survivors now going to fight the finish out, there will be a lot of walking wounded watching the outcome. But from the grandstand, as we look into the sun, we can just see 2 yellow blobs, and it's anyone's race. Both jockeys here, Zibo and Chalupka, are playing a waiting game in front, neither yet playing their final hand. This fence sees a good jump for David Naylor Leyland, and without one stirrup, he doesn't move a muscle. Julian Smith Osborne and Badger's Mead, they've gone. They had a chance, but they're just nursing home from here. As they round to what it'll be the final bend, Zico looks as if he picks his stick up to wave it at Chalupka. I think it's just excitement. Now they have one fence to jump, and for both riders, there's an awful lot at stake. Both mares swishing their tails under hard driving as they head for the final hurdle. It shouldn't prove a problem. They pick up, even though tired, and neck go up the final run, a bit like Liverpool, but not quite as long. The mares have given all. They're going to be asked to give a bit more. And the record time of 9:56 is obviously going to be broken. It's Libentina that does it. Back in third place, David Naylor Leyland, uncomfortably without his stirrup, crosses an honourable third. He must be very pleased. In 5th place, Julian Smith-Osborne on Badger's Mead. And Marcus Armitage finishes on the little Silhouetta. She's pleased to pull up. The remounted Clonrush Stream and Richard Chandler finish in 7th place. A gallant effort. The huge crowd were naturally delighted at a check 1-2.